Okay, we have a lot to talk about here. We'll talk with Craig on Sunday night, and we are actually doing all the representation here in the video, of course, from home here in the office here at North Olmsted, Ohio. With that being said, I wanted to go over a few things here. First of all, there has been a lot of coverage this past week with baseball and hockey. Baseball's coming up. We have a lot to talk about with the spring season baseball, but we have a lot to talk about when we're looking at club hockey and high school hockey, as we've been following for quite some time here, and looking at the social emotional learning side, of course, self-awareness, when we are talking about naturally in the sport of hockey and in the sport of baseball. Looking at this, of course, what's more fun of watching some greatness that's taking place. So we're going to talk about some great statements and words. We're going to talk about patience. We're going to talk about time. We're going to talk about truth. And when you're looking at some hockey at the high school level, you're looking at all three very quick. When we talk about goaltending, we're talking about fights, and we're talking about some other great stuff that puts you in the penalty box or the send box. Or let's even talk about some simple things when it comes to social emotional side and looking how things take place, of course. You know, I just got off the phone talking to somebody, and I like this quote that I don't think I've heard for a long time. But you know what? When it talks to the truth, the person, when we were talking, she actually said, you got to lie to yourself before you can lie to others. And that's an interesting statement. In fact, in so many different ways, you know, I'm looking at organizations here that I've been working with that, you know what, maybe I'm telling themselves or their teammates or even everybody in the organization the truth. So I want to start with the great truth that Chris Kinney did a great job, you know, a few weeks ago. If you look on our live session here on Facebook, we got 1,000 hits just in one day. And you know what? That's something that's being sent to my agent and being published in so many other ways. But what he has done in so many different ways is spectacular in the line of what he has done in hockey here at Bay Village. Bay Village Hockey has just made so much gains. The coaching staff, the athletic director, Matt, over there, has just done a great job. And it is just amazing to see everything that's taken place and all the success stories that have been taking place day by day, week by week. And the season that they had, making it to where they did in the playoffs, you know, the season came finally to an end, but what they did was just amazing and was awesome in so many different ways. Now, looking at the varsity, you know, there was Hilliard, what a program and what a success story that they have done. But looking at game days on Friday and Saturday, and looking at, you know, Hilliard having a great, you know, win taking place on Saturday, that got them into Sunday this morning's final rounds and taking it from there as they continued with success, of course. But that being said, them playing Medina Bees and Medina Club Hockey, you know, looking at them in the past months here and doing some major research on that, I think there's a lot to build right there. They have a great goalie. They used two goalies in that game, but the second goalie, and we're going to talk more about players individually on the next cut, which will take place in 1 hour. But when we look at, you know, the goalie and the expert opportunities that he displayed, it was great to see that. We're trying to talk about a fight that took place. We want to talk about why fights take place. And guess what? You're talking to a guy that understands that on a real aspect when it comes to on ice, that is only. Let's flip it to baseball. You know, we're going to have tomorrow evening live, Spencer Crane, again, one of my favorites, was not able to make it with his schedule playing, of course, college baseball right now, but he will be on, of course, tomorrow from Ohio Christian University, and it is going to be amazing to see all the success that he does. And our conversation we're going to have is actually a live interview that will be transferred to him, as of course I'll be writing about him as a pro prospect. And we're going to be talking about everything that he does with leadership and how baseball transfers when it comes to recruiting. No different than, it's a different business with each sport, but no different than hockey and so forth. And Miami just sends guys on and on to playing college hockey. And what their coaching staff does is just amazing on so many different levels. Had a chance to communicate with some fans and at the same time talking to so many of the coaches on that end. So I'm going to be helping them not just with the whole county with scholarships. Maybe that might be another county we add to it. But we're going to be talking about the scholarships that are taking place, of course, in Lorain County, Cuyahoga, Medina, and we're going to be talking about so many other things that are taking place on the transition of baseball, which is coming up. In baseball, you know, we're going to look at those last year programs that made the regionals, and we're looking at Bay Village, we're looking at Wadsworth, we're looking at Solon, we're looking at those three schools that had success. We're going to be looking at Independence, success right there. We're going to continue to look at the sectional teams that had some success, North Ridgeville, and then we're going to look at some programs that are rebuilding and even rebuilding from scratch. And we're going to talk some detail of Trinity High School and Garfield Heights.
It appears the Eagles are calling a last-second audible, changing the play.
What the hell is he doing?
Here we go, Vince.
And Vocali with a tremendous break on the ball. Bubble!
Come on, Vince.
In fact, we're going to look at the movie Invincible. And that is just one of the best movies that you could see. Vince Papale with the Philadelphia Eagles, who shows that back in the 70s, when they ask individuals from Philadelphia to come and try out, and he makes a squad. After he makes a squad, even when he was told at one time that he never will amount to anything, he was told that by many people, and that that's an interesting story. As people know me, I like movies that relate to the social emotional side of true life. So it allows people to learn, to grow. It also ties into all the research that we do here, not just in Project 3, but everything on the new social emotional growth that we have, where we're giving scholarships to individuals across many counties on the social emotional side. And we are going to piggyback and talk about some great athletic, social, emotional acts that took place. And it's great to see that. First of all, Perry High School, how they dominated in wrestling this past week. They dominated 13 wrestlers dominate in, of course, sectionals, going on to districts, and then of course after that are their state finals here. I think that's just a tip off the hat. Great opportunity for Perry High School in that realm. We did, of course, talk about Bay Village hockey, how the growth has taken place. We talked about Garfield Heights hockey, how, there's only one person that wanted to talk about the digress of hockey in Garfield Heights. And the fact of the matter, there was even individuals that stated, I don't want to talk about it because, you know what? I'm scared to talk about it. So that was interesting to see individuals who may have had small opportunities to play just a little bit after the opportunity of course, high school hockey, or individuals that played a little bit more at the college level, but don't want to talk about the lack of redevelopment of hockey in Garfield Heights. And then, of course, we're going to talk about the greatness, of course, of redeveloping hockey and what programs need to learn to educate their families and parents. Last week we saw at a JV game, and I watched about 17 games throughout the week in JV hockey. Families and parents yelled at the players, at the other coaches, using some language that we're going to show on a video of that game. That's horrific. We already have on Facebook Live during the situation in a Medina County hockey organization. That reflects everybody in the organization and all the parents when it comes to everything that's going on. How does a coaching staff not have a meeting with everybody that took place in that act of horrible acts? You know, I talked to a lot of security guards down all the way, of course, all the way down in Cincinnati, talking to them about that situation and talking to them about eyes have to be on people to watch that horrific acts that are taking place. And you know, it was a great conversation piece that we had talking about the social emotional side, and it was very intriguing and interesting to look at that in so many different rooms. Now let's talk about acts on the ice. Chris Kinney, of course, not only does he coach the Bay Village High School, but he coaches a youth group, of course, with his son, and talking about a dog pile. If you, of course, are involved in hockey, you understand that term. After double overtime, we had a great win for Rocky River Youth Hockey with Chris Kinney's team and a dog pile to show, thumbs up, we have a win. And I think when a congratulation, I think it needs to stand out to him and the excellence that's taking place with that youth group, of course. Now, going back to the States games down there in Cincinnati, Queen City, you know, it's a very unique ice facility. Of course, they have volleyball and some other areas in there for training and athletics, and it's just Cincinnati's just a great area of athletics overall. You know, Midland baseball is a big progression. Of course, a lot of colleges down there in the mix as well. But you know, the fact of on the ice. Watching one game, evaluating a program from the down up and seeing the progress that they need to make, especially not having a successful year this year. So looking at that and seeing the changes that I'm sure the coaching staff are going to make, and I'm going to continue to reach out to the coaches and you know, help them out on what they need to do. And asking them what they need as myself can support. This year I've evaluated 985 coaches throughout the country, that is, and coaching staffs, and you know, it's all about that, and nothing's perfect, nothing's outstanding. All the coaches are great at what they do and working so hard at what they're doing. You know, being a part of Positive Coaching Alliance and evaluating, you know, coaches across the country, and I sat on a couch and sat next to individuals while I was doing that back in November and December, and coming up with so many positive statements on coaches from, heck, West Virginia, Virginia, Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, you know, on all the region I was evaluating. And it's great to be able to just have a simple conversation because, you know what? Communication, growth, progress, and real true communication never takes place to have a full understanding if you don't have that conversation face to face. And that's what's so valuable and so important when it comes to having growth and being able to just go ahead and openly communicate. So that's what, you know, coaches do all the time, the good ones who know the more importance of social emotional value do that all the time. So I'm excited to sit down with these coaches and you know, be able to give them whatever they need in far as helping them, support them and what they need and the growth of for whatever it is. You know, and of course, to want to be able to talk about truth, you have to have truth, like that quote was earlier that I was told right before I got on air, which is magnificent. In order to, you have to tell yourself the truth first in order to be on your own, not looking to the left, not looking to the right, but on your own, being able to handle things, not going anything outside, because if you can't talk about the truth, deal with the truth on your own, what is real, then what else can you do besides nothing but telling circles of lies and not being able to grow your program? So when we talk about the truth of what happened on the outside source right there from last week's, I believe it was Friday's JV game. I have to look at my notes watching so many games. But the fact of the matter is, you know, let's see how the varsity handled that. Well, they didn't have a win, and they had a little bit of a struggle in a Friday night game, losing in overtime, and then Saturday games losing as well. But the last game that they played in the state tournament was great, aggressive, hardcore hockey, and I appreciate that. Goalies struggled. The two goalies that they had in the net, of course, they had Cole Keller, number 26. They had number 1. As well, Andreas Burgers, and the two individuals, working together to take care of the net. They had even a time that some interference took place. Their own teammates were not helping them out, being in the right place. Therefore, they can't see, and that's a large piece of the puzzle. So that communication on when a goalie is actually being blocked and not able to see and have the vision, that's a piece of the puzzle. So communications on that avenue is good. But, going back to who they were playing, their last game, Miami is just a program that is excellent in so many different ways. And it is great to see the, for example, the name Press, number 24 on Miami, just an overall great skater, tough on the ice. Real toughness. Doesn't have to act tough and knows the why to everything that he does. But Press did a fantastic job, very physical out there, realistically, but the act and the humbleness of how he skates and what he does out there is just great. Just a great overall hockey player. Had a chance to even talk a little bit with the families and so forth, and it's amazing of the success they do and the tradition they have, and great on the end of just how they performed playing all their games this past weekend. And of course they have kids from Indiana, from Southern Ohio, across the river, and everything down there. It's just great to see the growth that they're doing. First of all, two skaters that really caught the eye of individuals and looking at what college scouts are looking for. Number 71 and number 51. Of course, number 51, Logan Weber. Physical individual on the ice, knows what he's doing. He's one step ahead in regards to understanding where the puck's going to be and in the placement that he needs to be doing on the ice. And I love the way the kid forechecks and I should say plays some defense out there on the ice. But also, of course, we have Anderson Tabora, number 71, talking about a very physical kid that wants to show that and improve that with what he has. So two individuals that I like, but number 11, the starting center, is a kid that knows what to do with the puck. Has some skills. Not Wayne Gretzky, where he's 2, 3, 4 steps ahead. Maybe just one step ahead. Has a little growth to do. But the fact of the matter is, scored a goal in the evening's last game. Scored a number of goals throughout the year. And the fact of the matter is, does a great job of working together with that line. And the fact of the matter is, the greatness that he produces, you can see a lot of positive communication with him on how he talks to his teammates on the ice, and he understands why he's doing what he's doing. There's no question there. And I think there's definitely a possible future. And I'll be curious to talk to the coaches about what they have vision for him as well. There was a minor penalty for fighting that was taking place. And hey, I like fighting for the right reason and the why. Because you know what? Somebody does something to you, and there's a reason why, whether it's a cheap shot or you hurt one of your players or you did something that's out of compliance or not supposed to be taking place in the ethics of hockey. Well, guess what? You swing at me once, you're going to get 5 swings, but they're going to be learning swings where you're going to understand that why this happened, and you're going to go and take a learning experience, because I'm going to be nice and I'm going to be like a cat playing with a mouse to let you learn on your own socially and emotionally, but more so emotionally. But the fact of the matter is, not many people are trained and understand that it's about humbleness and about not about power, not about trying to show fake strength, but there's always a why. The question is, why did that fight take place? Because the fact of the matter, I saw two individuals out of emotional content because the score of the game was already out of control. The fact of the matter, I believe the timing was 6-3 at the time, with less than 8 minutes left in the game. We already know the outcome of the game already. Two individuals fighting is social, emotional. There was no cheap shots as the game went on. There was nothing but ethical play and great play on the sides. Physical game. That's how it's supposed to be. But you know what? There's no head hunting. There's no fighting should be. So the lack of emotional content has somebody not having emotional control two individuals that go to the sin box. And the fact of the matter is, because not understanding emotional control is you don't have control of others.
Hustle! Think you can win on talent alone? Gentlemen, you don't have enough talent to win on talent alone. Again. You better think about something else, each and every one of you. When you pull on that jersey, you represent yourself and your teammates. And a name on the front is a hell of a lot more important than the one on the back. Get that through your head. Again.
So that being said, we're going to look at so much more growth. We're going to look and listen to that realm of last week, what we heard, but even more so, we're going to take the efforts to go ahead and transition to what we're going to hear tomorrow on the social emotional side of baseball with Spencer Crane, who's one of my favorites, and I'm doing a reference for him live. And I told him I was going to send him his typed reference. I'm going to do it both at the same time, kill two birds with one stone, and give him that reference eye to eye, nose to nose. So we will talk with Craig tomorrow night and talk with Spencer Crane on a live reference. And again, patience is everything, because the truth comes out when you talk with patience.